So I called him up and I said, Jerry, I need your real name. Is it Joseph Levitch? And he says, no, I changed it to Jerry Lewis. Okay, Jerry Lewis. I need your passport number for the work permit. I need to get a work permit. And I need the people traveling with you. Okay, Max Alexander, Michael Drellick, and okay. And my press agent, the third thing, my press agent is going to call you. We just want to set up a time. When's a good time for her to call? We got all these great interviews, you know, the BBC and all these papers. And then he said, I'm not doing any press. I said, Jerry, I mean, no, I didn't want to push him. I didn't want to tell him that, hey, Jerry, tickets aren't selling or there isn't, that we really got to get some press on this because I didn't want to lose him. So I said, Jerry, we've got to get in there. We've got to do that press, huh? And then he said, and I'm not doing your show. The second time he said that. It was like the second airplane hit the World Trade Center tower. You knew there was a pattern that was developing. It wasn't an accident. And then I was just gobsmacked. I was like, huh? I didn't know what to do. I mean, it was, I never, and then he said something to me that I never heard in my life. And for this, and for legal reasons, and for dramatic reasons, I've had a bit of a Jerry puppet built. Then he said to me, I said, Jerry, I don't understand. And he said something to me I'll never forget. He said, I eat people like you for breakfast. I mean, I'm not the thinnest guy in the world, but I could not think of a fat joke in time. And I didn't understand this. I brought it just for that one line, by the way. My accountant told me in 17 seconds it becomes a tax deduction. So I didn't know what to do. So I remembered that scene in King of Comedy, which I was going to show the clip of, but I kind of like without the clips. And I remember that scene where De Niro's character, Rupert Pupkin, this wannabe comedian, this annoying, crazy comedian that breaks into Jerry Langford, Jerry Lewis's home in Long Island, shows up and has this kind of attitude that he's, going to be on the show, and he reverses the status in the scene where he's giving Jerry a hard time in his own home. Come on, Jerry, you're supposed to have a party here, and Jerry's going to call the police. So I took that attitude.
Jerry, can
Do you understand English? Take your things and go.
All right, I can take a hint, Jerry. I just want to ask you to listen to my stuff for 15 minutes. That's all. Is that asking too much?
Yes, it is. I have a life, okay?
Well, I have a life, too.
That's not my responsibility.
Well, it is when you tell me to call you and then you don't...
I told you to call to get rid of you.
To get rid of me?
That's right.
Okay. All right, I can take a hint.
If I didn't tell you that, we'd still be standing on the steps at my apartment.
Yeah, all right, so I made a mistake.
So did Hitler.
Jerry, I just want to say one more thing, Jerry. I'm glad what you did to me today. You know that? Because now I know I can't rely on anybody. Not you, not anybody. And I shouldn't rely on anybody.
Right.
You know that? And you want to know something else? I'm going to work 50 times harder. And I'm going to be 50 times more famous than you.
Then you're going to have idiots like you playing your life.
In my mind, I was Rupert Pupkin. And I said, you know what, Jerry? I don't want you on my show. And then he said, miraculously, what'd I say? And then I hung up on him. And I thought, wow, I just hung up on Jerry Lewis. That's incredible. All right, important. I wanted to come at a Buffy callback today. What'd you do today? I got called back for Buffy and I hung up on Jerry Lewis. Wow. Hey, my career's taken off. Woo! All right, so now I don't know what to do. Now I'm freaking out. I got the London Palladium coming up in less than a month. And I don't have a star. And I got to put the ad in the Time Out. And, starring who, So, no, the ad was in Time Out already. So, I was thinking, oh my God. So now I don't know what to do. So I call up a friend of my dad. My dad grew up in this great part of Brooklyn called Williamsburg, which was kind of like looking over the river to the land of Oz, which was Manhattan. And all these poor people, but they were cool people. They were working class, very creative. They all knew each other. Mel Brooks, Mel Kaminsky was my dad's neighbor, and they knew each other. My dad knew this other guy who became a famous publicist who handled Michael Jackson, literally wrote the speech for Michael Jackson, examine my penis, and handled Frank Sinatra, and that's my Sinatra, and Barbara Streisand. Oh, I gotta tell a joke, a Barbara Streisand joke that Rich Hall told me, which should go like this. An agent talking to a producer, and says, I'll never work with that Barbara Streisand again. Why? Said, everything they say about her is true. She's a bitch. She's a prima donna. She keeps you waiting, and then she's in the dressing room, keeps everyone waiting there. She demands this. shoes are all right, color all right, you want this, you want champagne? I'll never work with that bitch again. And the producer says, I'm a little offended. Why's that? Well, Barbara Streisand happens to be my daughter. All right, let me finish. All right. So I said, Lee, the publicist, what do I do? What do I do? He said, what's the matter? I said, I got Jerry Lewis coming. He goes, what are you, nuts? Jerry's crazy. He's difficult. What are you doing? I said, well, I didn't know. I'm the last guy to know. And people started telling me that Jerry was difficult. And the more that people told me that Jerry was insane, the more I identified with him, because people thought I was insane. You see, people at the Improv, the Comedy Store, wherever, they thought I was insane. So I thought, oh, he's insane, I'm insane, he's comedy genius, what am I? Comedy genius too, okay, I get it. All right, I see how it works. It's kind of like, in the 70s when we played rock and roll, it's kind of like, oh, Keith Richards does cocaine and heroin. Well, if I do cocaine and heroin, I'm just like Keith Richards. An obvious comparison. So, anyway, maybe Jerry should do heroin, but anyway, never mind. That's terrible. So, Keith Richards, imagine Keith Richards putting on all this work on. All over Keith Richards, all right. So, I said, Lee, what do I do? And he said, tell Jerry you're holding a press conference in London and you want a reason why he's not doing the show. And I thought, brilliant. That's good. I'll use his fame against him. Now, whatever. Okay. Now, I'll tell you how I know this. I knew this would work because I work at a gym in LA that has a lot of celebrities. Now, I don't mean to drop that because it's important to have celebrities, but they need to get into shape and they work out there. And here's what happened. I was going to lose weight, so I was doing like 30 minutes of cardio every day, and I was doing it on the bike because I hurt my knee. And on like the 7th day, I went to the gym on the Sunday morning, and there was just one open bike. And I went to this bike, and I was adjusting the seat, and I was about to go to the bike, and this guy on the bike to the right of me said, do you mind? He looked really weird. He said, do you mind not using that bike? A friend of mine's using that bike. And then this other guy came over, this bald guy came over and said, do you mind not using that bike? And I said, fine. Another bike opened up. I thought they wanted to work out together. I went and moved to the other bike. I got the other bike, I adjust the seat, get on the bike, start pedaling, headphones, 5 minutes into it, tap on the shoulder, turn around, it's the bald guy again. We just want to thank you for moving. That was really nice. You're welcome. No, we want to thank you. That was really, really nice. You're welcome. No, we want, okay, can you go away now? You're welcome. So now I'm working out, and I look to the empty bike, where I moved from, it's now empty. And the bald guy who was going to work out is now downstairs talking and laughing. And I look over, and the original bike that I moved away from, the guy looks familiar. He's coming into focus. It's Jean-Claude Van Damme. I go, wow, that's Jean-Claude Van Damme. And I thought, oh, that's cool. Wait a minute. Oh, they wanted some security because no, wait a second. I'm a member of the gym. I paid a fee to get in. And plus, I'm in showbiz. He could have simply said to me, hey, you want to move? Because he's got, I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. My name's Steve Agnew. I'm producer. Nice to meet you. Want to be in High on Laughter? So the bald guy was so nice. I called him up. I said, hey, come on up, let's talk. Got off the bike. It was an excuse not to work out. I went over. The bald guy comes up to me on the side. And privately, this is where it comes in. Privately, he said to me, he looked at me and said, you're a bad guy. I don't like your vibe. What? What? Said, you're a bad guy, I don't like your vibe. And then he says within earshot of everyone else, he goes, this guy's attacking me, pointing to me. He says, this guy's starting trouble. Something, this is like red alert, nutso LA time. I go past him, I go to my bike, I get my keys and my water. Jean-Claude Van Damme's on the bike and he looks at me and he says, you're probably jealous of me because of my money. So this is fucking crazy. So I go downstairs to the main workout. I wanted to talk to the manager because I didn't want to get kicked out of the gym, And I thought, what do I need to know? Maybe I need to have a 3-picture deal before I can use the lap machine. Well, how does it work around here, So I'm talking to the guy. Meanwhile, these two guys follow me down. Now, Jean-Claude, the bald guy's starting in with me with a big, and there's like 2 levels of people with, tubes, and they're looking down, they're on, what's going on, and the bald guy's going, this guy's causing trouble, this guy started trouble, and all I did was try to help, and Jean-Claude Van Damme is like doing one of these getting ready to karate thing, I don't know what's going on. So now the manager's got one hand on the bald guy and the other hand on my chest, and he's like, come on, fellas, cut it out. And even if you're not aggressing towards someone, it's like if you put your hand on someone's chest, it looks like you're being held back because you're trying to aggress. So I saw my membership burning up, and then I used my fucking brain for once. I came out of this crouch, and I pointed at the bald guy, and I said as loud as I could, I said, I am not a kike! You can't call me a kike, I'm a member of this gym! And now he's like, I didn't say anything, I'm cute. And then without missing a beat, I pointed to Jean-Claude Van Damme and I said, and you're a crap actor! And the two of them kind of huddled off like this, you know. And they're like, you okay, man? Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah. But I knew when dealing with Jerry Lewis that this thing that Lee Salters was recommending would work because it's basically a famous person's Achilles heel is their fame. And that's why a lot of them are very abusive in private. I theorize. Yeah. Like I fucking know anything, eh? So I didn't call up, so he said, hold a press conference, tell Jerry, you're holding a press conference, you want to know why he's not doing a show. Well, I didn't call up Jerry, I called up Max. See, it's a two-headed monster. I called up Max, and Max is like, I got nothing to do with it, Stephen, why are you calling me? Call Jerry. And I go, Max, I can sue both of you, but I won't. Which is kind of like saying, I got a gun in my pocket, but I'm not going to use it. Said, tell Jerry that we're holding a press conference. Jerry called me right back. Jerry called me immediately and said, look, we can both sue each other, but let's not. And then he starts telling me that he's really just worried about his health. And he's worried about his appearance. And he starts crying about his life. He said, what am I going to do? Go work at Florsheim? He's such an old reference. What am I going to do? Work at Florsheim, he says to me. He starts crying. I start crying. The operator listening in starts crying. Anyway, by the end of it, he's back on the show. I couldn't get him off the show. So he's back on. I was really concerned. Now I'm actually concerned for his, I was concerned all along for his health, and I was concerned for my show. Anyway, he pulls out of the show, it was like 2 or 3 more times, just calling me almost every day. I'm coming home, the phone's ringing, I'm praying it's not Jerry Lewis calling me. And here's the best thing, we're going to give him a Lifetime Achievement Award. Now who the fuck am I to give anybody an award? But you know what you do? You go down to Awards Rex on Pico, right in the golf course, and they make awards. So I had this plexiglass High on Laughter award made, and Jerry wanted me to call it the Charlie Chaplin Award, because he knew Chaplin, was always compared to Chaplin. I think, except Chaplin, shut the fuck up every once in a while. Yeah, listen. Somebody remember that one for me, will you? Anyway, so. Now, when I lived in New York, I knew a girl named Aurelia Theron, who was the great-granddaughter of Charlie Chaplin, and granddaughter of Gene O'Neill, pretty good pedigree there. And she was in a thing called the Invisible Circus. I found out she'd moved, she told me to call Chaplin Estate in Paris. I called him up, I said, I'm Stephen Allen Green, I'm producing a charity show, I'm giving a Lifetime Achievement Award to Jerry Lewis. And Jerry wanted me to call it the Chaplin Award, could we do that? And they said no. So I called back Jerry, I said, you know, he didn't ask me to clear with them, but I wanted to. And he said, well, it's okay, we'll call it the Jerry Lewis Award. So, I'm giving Jerry Lewis the first annual Jerry Lewis Award. And nominated for the first annual Jerry Lewis Award, Jerry Lewis, and Myron Henkelberg. So, anyway, Jerry Lewis Awards. Okay, now, so, here's the thing. I had this orchestra assembled, an 18-piece orchestra, which is expensive. In English terms, it was, you know, American terms probably cost 3 or 4 times as much, but, you know, people in England, you know, the musicians, you know, the wage is a little bit lower, people like to work. I guess, what am I talking about? I don't know what I'm talking about, but it cost me around, here's what I did. It cost £7,500, which is about $1,200 for the 18-piece orchestra, but because Jerry wanted to originally bring his MD, not his doctor, but his musical director, I couldn't afford that, so instead, without Jerry asking me, I sussed out Damn Yankees. Wait a minute, Jerry, Damn Yankees, he played the devil. And I got the orchestra conductor for that, Gareth Valentine, for £1,000. So for $1,600 rather than $16,000, I had a local guy, and we had all these musicians from Jules Holland Band, who recently recorded with Sting, and George Harrison, and everybody. And Jerry said his only qualification for the musicians was as long as they could play, they were good enough to play Ronnie Scott's. And Ronnie Scott's is like, you know, is a famous jazz club, but I mean, anyway.